Hey guys, today is my first full video on World War Historian, so it's going to be a little bit longer, maybe not. So, we're going to be talking about the Battle of the Bulge. Here we go. Now, the Battle of the Bulge was the last major German offense on the Western Front during World War II, occurring in the Ardennes region, however you say that, of Belgium and Luxembourg. I don't know how you say that either. And I know it, but I just forgot. December 16th, 1944, to January 25th, 1944. It was a surprise attack that aimed to split Allied forces and potentially force a negotiated peace, but ultimately failed, resulting in heavy losses for both sides. The Battle of the Bulge, for its intense fighting in harsh winter conditions and its significant impact on war outcome. So that's what I see so far. Now, we're going to look at some more things. The enemy strikes. In late 1944, during the wake of the Allied forces' successful D-Day invasion of Normandy, France, it seemed as if the Second World War was all but over. On December 16th, with the onset of winter, the German army launched a counter-offensive that was intended to cut through the Allied forces in a manner that would turn the tide of war into Hitler's favor, which we don't want. The battle that ensued is known historically as the Battle of the Bulge. The courage and the fortitude of the American soldier was tested against great adversity. Nevertheless, the quality of response ultimately meant the victory of freedom over tyranny. Now, early on the misty morning of December 16, 1944, more than 200,000 German troops and nearly 1,000 tanks launched Adolf Hitler's last bid to reverse the EBB, whatever that is, the ebb in his fortunes that had begun when Allied troops landed in France on D-Day, seeking to drive to the coast of the English Channel, split the Allied armies as they had done in May 1940. The Germans struck in the Ardennes forest, a 75-mile stretch characterized by dense woods and only few roads. Held by four inexperienced and battle-worn American divisions stationed there for rest and seasoning. After a day of hard fighting, the Germans broke through the American front, surrounded most an infantry division, seizing crossroads and advancing their spearheads toward the Missouri River, creating the projection that gave the battle its name. Stories spread of the massacre of troops and civilians at Malmedy, or whatever that says, and Stavelot. I think that's how you pronounce it. Paratroopers dropped behind the lines, and English-speaking German soldiers disguised as American Americans capturing critical bridges, cutting communication lines, and spreading rumors for those who had lived through the 1940s. The picture was too familiar. Belgium townspeople put away their Allied flags, and brought out their swastikas. Police in Paris enforced all-night curfew or something. British veterans waited nervously to see how the Americans would react to a full-scale German offensive. And British generals quietly acted to safeguard the Meuse River crossings. Even American civilians who had fought the final victory was near where Sobered was near where Sobered, whatever that said, by the Nazi onslaught. But this was not 1940. The Supreme Allied Commanders, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, rushed reinforcements to hold the shoulders of the German penetration within days. Lieutenant General George S. Patton Jr., which is my favorite general, period. I mean, I can argue with you all day, even just saying how good he is, and that's probably all I'll say. Had turned his 3rd U.S. Army to the north and was counterattacking against the German flank. But the story of the Battle of the Bulge is above all the story of American soldiers. Often isolated and unaware of the overall picture, they did not, they did their part to slow the Nazi advance, whether by delaying armored spearheads with obstinate defenses of vital crossroads, moving or burning citrical gasoline stocks to keep them from the fuel-hungry German tanks, or coming up with the question arcane Americana to stunt possible Nazi infiltrators. And here's some photos. See, this is three members of an American patrol. James Story of Newman, Georgia. Private Frank A. Fox of Wilmington, Delaware, I guess, and Corporal Dennis Lavano of Harrisville, New York, cross a snow-covered Luxembourg field on a scouting mission in Lille, Luxembourg, 1930-1944. White bed sheets camouflaged them in the snow. Now, American engineers emerged from the woods and out of the defensive positions after fighting in the vicinity of Bastogne, Belgium. So, now we're going to look at some more. At the critical road of junctions of the street with Vith and Bastogne, American tankers and paratroopers fought off repeated tanks, and when the acting commander of the 101st Airborne Division was summoned in Bastogne, was summoned by his German adversary to surrender, he simply responded, "Nuts." Within days, Patton's Third Army had relieved Bastogne, and to the north, the 2nd U.S. Army Armored Division stopped enemy tanks short of the Meuse River on Christmas. Through January, American troops often wading through deep snow drifts, attacking the sides of the shrinking bulge until they had restored the front and set the stage for the final drive to victory. Never again would Hitler be able to launch an offensive in the West on a such scale. An admiring British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill stated, "This is undoubtedly the greatest American battle of the war and will. I believe be regarded as as an ever-famous American victory. Indeed, in terms of participation and losses, the Battle of the Bulge is arguably the greatest battle in American military history." And it lasted approximately 41 days. It started December 16th, 1944 and ended January 25th, 1945. And Allied troops were involved in the combat. 700,000 Allied troops were involved in the combat. Over 8 Allied armored divisions took part in the battle, including George Patton's Third Army. It was 75 miles. During the Battle of the Bulge, German offensive spanned across roughly 75 mile front line in the Ardennes forest, where they launched their attack against the Allied forces. So, I have spoken. That's the end of the video.